Hello, beautiful people. So I am here today. Today is March 26th, 2025. It's almost going to be March 27th. I'm doing this at 11:03 p.m. So pretty late. Not too late for me where I feel tired, but I wanted to get this reading out to you guys. So I hope you're doing well. I hope everything is going well for you guys today. I'm feeling just really inspired to tap into the masculine energy that I mentioned back in, it was about a month or so ago. I touched on the shadow energies of the masculine and also more so the shadow and then some of the light. And I feel like there's more to come. And I felt like that too. I wrote out this whole plan, this whole outline of what I wanted to talk about because it really meant a lot to me. It means a lot to tap into the masculine energy, into something so broad as that I wanted to come with some specifics. But every time I tried to tap into that energy, like to go back to my notes, I felt like it wasn't clicking as it did at one point, which could mean a number of things, right? It means that maybe my outline wasn't sufficient for me anymore. It could mean that I'm not meant to do it. So I felt like I needed to come on here and do a live reading on masculine energy because I was going to talk about the illusions with masculine energy. I was going to talk about wishful thinking not being enough. Neither are good intentions. That was going to be the title because I was going to talk about the good intentions we have when we operate in our masculine. But sometimes we get stuck in this pattern of wishful thinking or thinking like, people will know, people will get it, people will understand why I'm pushing this much, why I work so hard for my family, why I do all of these things to promote to I almost said to amount to anything. Sometimes there's people out there that do work really hard to amount to something in someone else's eyes, to make other people proud. There are various reasons for why we do. There are why we do what we do, and the motivations for what we do in life. So, whatever those motivations are, I want to kind of just crack down on what is meant to come through with me. And what was interesting was as I was just going through the decks that I wanted to use, I felt drawn to this yoga deck I have. So I felt drawn to get the 16th card. And the 16 is the tower. So there's something about a tower moment hitting for a lot of people with regards to their masculine traumas or trauma surrounding the shadow archetype of the masculine. We embody both. But what was interesting was how this card came out, the goddess mudra for Kali. That is all about destruction, guys. Like Kali is known for being really like breaking through with destruction and wrath and vengeance in the way of like divine intervention here. So there's something here about the goddess, the feminine archetype representing freedom and just representing like an unencumbered abyss, like just understanding like truly how deep the feminine goes. I feel like we need that in order to understand the masculine, and it's the same in reverse. So I feel like when I talk about feminine energy, if I ever do a series about feminine energy on here, I don't see why not. I feel like I'm gonna get like the most empowering masculine, divine masculine energy to come in like it did for this reading. So we have Kali, and it says break through constricting thoughts and limiting emotions with the mudra that represents goddess Kali, who destroys the darkness of our ignorance. So this is going to be a reading that is about destroying our ignorance, including mine, so that we can really tap into the energy of what masculine energy is not addressed, what people don't address in masculine energy, and also about the shadow archetypes. And I'm hearing how pervasive these shadow archetypes can even be, like how we don't even realize that we're in the shadow at times because we think we're teetering so much in between that we kind of feel like we're on one end, and we think we're on more the uplifting and positive and light of energy of the masculine, but we're not actually aware that we're actually more so in the dark. So what will come in, I am not aware of. I like to do this type of thing where I go on the fly. I talk through what our spirit teams are trying to say through me today. So this pose might be significant for someone, but 13 represents transformation and death. So definitely you guys are going through a major transition and death with regards, and I'm hearing rebirth, of course, because death is life. There's something about the two of them being significant before we can address peace, is what I'm hearing. Address temperance, which is 14 in the tarot. So there's something important about addressing the need for destruction before we address the peace. And I'm feeling this card here, and I haven't seen it yet. We have winter, take care of your needs. So winter is really significant. Something about the winter is also significant for you guys. I feel like something happened in the winter. I'm getting 2 cards already. We have Witch, be the light. So we have some people that are tuned, and I'm hearing culturally, this is a cultural thing. So you guys likely have Celtic roots, or you have roots that go very deep with nature. So I'm feeling like someone here knows these roots, and that's why they want me to bring it up. I'm seeing elderberry here. So there's something about elderberry. And what's funny is recently, not too long ago, my family, we were out and we were kind of foraging, and we saw like something that looked like elderberry, but it turns out it was a weed, and literally it was poisonous to eat. So there's something about disguising, something being disguised as healthy or great for you, or empowering, or something that's really beautiful, that is beautiful in a very dangerous way, and it's not actually benefiting you on a soul level, on a mental, physical, and spiritual level, all of the levels. So there's something here about you reevaluating something and being the light, and seeing how you can use the things that are seen as weeds, because I feel like weeds are really beautiful. A lot of the time I see weeds and I'm not aware that they're weeds because they're covering that plant, or that whatever was not tended to, or whatever was neglected. Weeds take over very quickly. So I don't know, there's something about like some pervasive energy that's being addressed here, and also the beauty of all of it, the light and the dark. And so recognizing like those plants are plants as well, even if the intention was not for that plant, right? That's going into even with the masculine energy, and how I tried to title it wishful thinking is not enough, and neither are good intentions. I feel like there are energies that come through from the masculine that are not sometimes bred from the best of circumstances or for on purpose, but they actually are telling you a deeper story. And I'm even getting like taken to an example of like guys that are considered to be simps. For some reason, I'm getting that vibe of like, for instance, like the things that you guys think are like, some people would say simps are harmful because of the energy of like bending and like bowing to the feminine, or like honoring the feminine in a certain way that seems more like what is it? It starts with an M. Masochistic. Something like that is significant, where they're saying like we're not going to look at just the what we perceive to be the shadow archetype, in that it's hyper expressed, but like the things that are also like very diminished, like how we see it in various forms is going to be addressed in this reading. So stay tuned, guys. We have the eagle. We have the eagle and the wolf here. So there's something about these 2 totems, and I'm hearing like someone has an eagle on their fridge, and they're telling you to look at it, or to recognize that you have like eagles around you and you're not aware of where they are, literally on someone's fridge. So see this from a higher perspective. We're going to be taking more of a broad look and uplifted view of the masculine energy and all of what it entails, instead of just trying to like box it in and trying to like say it has to be this way. How it's expressed has shifted so much that we need to recognize other aspects of it that we're not aware of, that are maybe more are not as obvious. Okay, we have oracle, wait for important information. So we have the oracle coming through. So there's going to be some important information that's going to come through to you guys. I meant to do 1 card, but we got 2. There's something here about your star ancestors waiting at specific and pivotal moments to speak with you. And there's always a reason. You guys know this, but there's something about you needing to see the signs and the omens in animals around you specifically. Like in the region that you're in, look at what animals are really common there, as far as birds and as far as the wildlife, wherever you are. Even if you're in the city, I want you to see what type of birds are more common in your area, because I feel like there's going to be a sign, or there is a significance to your location and your where you're placed and where you felt drawn to be, wherever it is that you're drawn to be. If you're meant to be somewhere else and you're still not moving, there's something about you needing to start to visualize the animals, the wildlife, the energy of the area that you feel drawn to at this moment in time, and also the area that you are in. So there's two things here. Protection is coming through from your spirit team. They want to make it very known to you that you need to drop your shields with something. Someone has a guard up with regards to either this information or with regards to what you've been told. I feel like someone here has a lot of, wow, I'm seeing 7 peacock feathers on this protection guardian. So something about you having like so much information within you contained that I feel like you need to, like, instead of look at information from other people, you need to start dropping your shield and seeing that you are very heavily protected as it is, and that there's a need for you to follow your soul's cry for something that you're meant to do. I don't know if you're meant to go and visit a very sacred site in the summer of this year, or whenever you see this and the summer is significant. You're meant to bask in the joy and light of some new place. Like, you are being called to that place because there's an energetic upgrade, or there's something about your grid, or something about that is significant. You need to kind of like see that you can go. And I feel like this needs to be said. Mother Earth, if I can say it, is supporting you. And when you think about Mother Earth in this way, where you see this visualization here, I don't care if you're like across the world from this place. Literally, that's like nothing to her. Gaia, when it comes to like the distance, I mean, I see the beauty and the value of the distance and all of what goes into us being in different areas of the world, and like how long it takes to get there by boat, by car, by plane. I recognize the risks associated with going to a new place across the world alone, or going to a new place just off the rip while you have a full-time job. But there's something here about you needing to trust, and I saw 1212. There's something about you needing to get out of hangman, and you need to start moving, because I feel like to Gaia, it's like this short of a distance away from each other. Don't get lost in how distant or how far this location is. We have ignite your passions. They want you to just push, and to actually not push as in like make it happen, but literally accept it and drop your shields here, because I feel like you're going to be there sooner than you know when you let go here. And you let it happen, and you let yourself dream, and you let yourself follow what your passions are, truly, to the extent. Yeah. You don't have to fear disappointment. Here we go with Gaia. Again, feel loved and comforted. There's something about her needing to be here for me to see. The goddess Kali and the Earth Mother are here for our masculine reading. So masculine energy. Let's tap into what we can glean from this. I feel like I need to get a love message for you guys, and I hope that it doesn't show up, the nudity. I don't want anything to mess with the ability of this getting out. But let's tap into what love messages we have for this reading. Where is it going to be moving and oriented towards? Like, where are we going with this? I don't know why I keep smelling garlic. Someone's making garlic, or there's something about you needing to get garlic, because it's a great way to protect your energy and to repel certain energies. It's also great for bees, and if you guys are dealing with maybe a lot of bees right now and you're around your house and you're afraid of like them getting in, garlic is significant. I keep smelling it, so apparently my clairsalience is coming up in this reading. So we have transformation. Your relationship with one another is about to deepen. Love conquers and transforms all things. So there's something here about your masculine and your feminine energy are actually deepening in their connection and understanding of one another, meaning they don't need your conscious brain to know about this, but I feel like your conscious mind, there's something here about what is subconscious becoming more conscious to you, an awareness of when you're shifting and how they connect. So even if the energies exist, no matter what you think or feel about that, I'm more so saying, like, I can see these two energies beginning to blend a lot more, or to understand when they're at their extremes. Does that make sense? So you're going to have a better and more conscious, I'm hearing surrender of this information, a surrender of recognizing the ebbs and flows, the ebb and flow of life, when it's a good time to be in more of your feminine and when it's good to be in more of your masculine. And of it not becoming too extreme. Not all situations count, or not all situations ask for extremes. Sometimes it's a little bit of a blend of two. It's more subtle. I'm getting more of a subtle energy with you guys. It says, when it comes to matters of the heart, there is no right or wrong. Every choice you make expands your understanding of love and life. Love and life, or life and love here. So there's something about, no matter what, there's no right or wrong here. There's a need for you to leave right and wrong at the door when it comes to this energy. So looking at it not from a societal or cultural norm sort of way, like looking at what's societally correct or not, but being more open to like seeing it for what it is instead of how people will perceive it in you. Yeah, this is really interesting. It says sacred union, honor and treasure your relationship, for it truly is sacred. For it is truly sacred. We have soulmate. So your soulmate is already with you in spirit. Believe this and they will manifest physically. So there's something about like it manifesting for you in the form of love relationships. And it says criticizing one another will only lead to further unhappiness. So love and accept each other as you are, and your relationship will magically transformation again, right? We had that. This is the last card and it mentions transformation, and then our first card was transformation. So they're definitely trying to say to you, there's a need for acceptance of both aspects of who you are, not looking at it merely from the societal perspective or what societal norms convey. If you don't see that already in life, how like we are constantly like pushing against societal norms, that is the purpose of it. It's to get us closer to the answers and understanding truly what masculine and feminine energy are like, and that they have a sacred union with soulmate and sacred union coming in. They ebb and flow constantly. They've had this happen many times through history. When you look at political events, when it comes to the energies of what groups embody, there's this power play constantly. If we think about Lemuria and Atlantis, if we think about even with the countries, like when we think of like US and Russia, when we think of, there's always an ebb and flow with the energy and how it presents itself, and whether it's just masculine or if there's like an influence that is a bit more feminine. There's something about that, and like I feel like that's coming up, and political events that unfold are going to also embody this always. There's always that it's not as clear cut as it's just all the masculines fighting, and that's what we have going on in the world. We have feminine countries that embody more the feminine, that are speaking out and acting, and they're still feminine even if they're acting, because it's not just action is not just a masculine thing. It's just how you act. And also whether you're acting to stand out, or to go against the grain, or go against the flow and ebb of the universe, or if it's going with it and that stands out amongst the rest. There's something about the importance of knowing that some countries do employ and operate in their feminine. It's not just all masculines here. So there's a lot of them for masculines, but masculine energy tends to stand out. But yeah, I just always hear people talking about how it's all like white men's faults for what's going on and all that. But I feel like there's so many other things that have happened in history. So we only have like so much to go off of, right? Who wrote the history books? You're going to likely hear about that. So you may notice the trend and think that that's all that there ever was or is. But it's more than that. There's a lot of things that weren't put in history books that were also masculines, but there were a lot of things that feminines did that were, yeah, that were distinct. Okay, Lemuria and Atlantis, I tend to think about a lot. I have a connection to those two in some ways. So we have that sacred union between the two coming in, and then also the criticism. Okay, there's always been this criticism leading to further unhappiness between the masculine and feminine. So we're going to see how we can love and nurture that within ourselves, so that we can love and nurture masculines and feminines where they are as well, and to love and accept each other as you are. Yeah. So that's really important. And it says, look inside yourself. I felt drawn to that. Examine what is causing you to feel this way. So let's get into it. That was just an overall love message that I felt like was significant for you guys. We're looking at the matters of the heart, rather than trying to judge one or the other. Let's look at some archetypes for the masculine. What are some masculine shadow attributes that we should talk about today? What are some masculine attributes, aspects of masculine energy in the shadow that we should talk about here? Okay. Oh my goodness. So a lot of cards. Yeah, so we have a good amount here. I feel like this should be first. So we have the vampire archetype coming through, if you guys can see that. It says, depleting others for your psychic survival, chronic complaining and codependency. Okay, so chronic complaining and codependency. What's kind of sad is that my immediate thought when I heard that, and this is going to be like, this isn't true or anything in the sense that it's not accurate, but I always tend to hear like negative things about the feminine energy and about how feminines complain. But in reality, like, complaining is when you give your power to an external authority or to someone else, some people would say. For instance, with Eckhart Tolle, I remembered Eckhart Tolle mentioning how instead of saying that you're complaining, you can say that you are letting your voice be heard. So how you convey and how you perceive complaining, it could depend across cultures. But in where I am right now at this time, I feel like people tend to always attribute complaining to the feminine. Have you guys heard that before? And that's something that's being addressed here. So we're seeing the masculine as someone that is depleting in the shadow, as depleting others. And this is like this vampiric energy, unsurprisingly, with the vampire, of like taking from others because you don't believe that you have that to give. You don't have that intrinsically within you. Or this energy of like not being satisfied, always trying to look for someone externally to give you something that you feel you don't have within yourself. And depleting others. When I think about our work weeks and I think about how tirelessly we work across this country in the US where I am and other countries, we work so freaking hard. There's something about passion and determination that I'm not taking out of the equation. I'm just looking at merely how much time we spend working on something, and working on something that isn't our passion. There are a lot of people in the world that are working on something that they're not passionate about. They're only doing it for something that they get out of that work or that job or that position. And what I mean by that is we all get something out of it. That's why we do it. But it's not something fulfilling emotionally, psychically, on a soul level. It's more so something that's monetarily beneficial. And even then, sometimes it's not even monetarily beneficial either. So there's this energy of like, when you're drained, of recognizing when you are experiencing this, when you're experiencing being depleted as well, or depleting others for survival, expressing your need in an unhealthy manner where you're taking from others rather than giving to others. There's this energy of like this not being a person specifically, but a land mass. Do you know of any land masses that are more so operating this shadow energy of taking from others for their survival, like depleting resources from others for their survival? Always, where do you always see people getting their hands and their feet in? Like, what country, what continent? Do you see people just kind of reaping all of the benefits that they can for their psychic survival or what they think they lack? And just complaining a lot about that resource, or complaining about the people of that resource, or just being codependent on that resource, please feel free to put it below. That is the energy of a shadow archetype of the masculine. And that could be produced from the masculine energy in the shadow, where you're seeking out something outside of yourself without respect for that place, respect for that energy that is exchanged to you. And so you kind of pillage, or you reap all of the rewards, or try to, but you're never satisfied. That energy comes in, and that's significant for you guys. We also have the king. I just want to show you guys that before I read it. The king is excessive feelings of entitlement and rulership without restraint. So the king. Okay, so yeah, we can see in history how there have been excessive feelings of entitlement to a resource and then siphoning it. So this is something that comes through repetitively through history. So it's seeming like we need to see how grand this can go, and how little, and how not little, but like how personalized this can be. Are you doing that in your own life, where you're relying on someone chronically, where you're codependent on them, and you're complaining that they're not showing up for you in the way that you want them to show up for you, and that if they don't show up for you in the way that you want them to show up for you, you are unable to receive what you need? Like, this is in the sense of you, like, foregoing, you expecting another person to complete something within you, rather than you expecting something normally out of a relationship or out of a person, that is like an energy equal give and take, and an energy exchange between them, between you and this person. Is it a relationship? Because if it's something like, oh, I need this person to show up for me, that's normal. You, like, when you have a relationship that's a pair, like when there's two people or a group of people that are agreeing to be in each other's lives, under certain pretenses, under certain foundational beliefs, that's understandable. But this is more so someone that's trying to siphon energy from another person because they feel like they lack it within themselves intrinsically, like they don't bring enough to the table, or they feel like someone else is supposed to bring the piece of the pie, the biggest piece of the pie, to the table, rather than you bringing something equally to that person. So this is something that's personalized in each of our lives, of being aware when we're draining other people, or when we are being entitled or feeling entitled to other people's energies. Because you want to be in the light energy with this. You want to be able to be enlightened, benevolent, be a leader, be able to benefit people in your charge, like it says. And this is something that we look for and want in a healthy masculine energy, is someone who's benevolent. Benevolent doesn't mean weak. Benevolent, to be bloodthirsty, like to have like this there are decisions that need to be made, and they can be made in a way that is considerate and truly like well-rounded, versus doing something that's very dark, that's very like self-centered, and not as it's not as considerate of the people around you. So there's an importance in that. I just want to make that clear. So there's something about benefiting people in your charge. Do you benefit the people in your charge? Are they better knowing you, or are they seeming to feel depleted, or seem to be more depleted in the relationship with you because of the relationship with you? Are they saying that to you? Vice versa. Are you saying that to them, and telling them that you don't feel like you are actually being poured into, but you feel like drained energetically? There's something about that. We also have an empty one that I kept on purpose. I like to scry with these. So for this one, I'm hearing like, so I'm seeing two things. I'm seeing, for some reason I said scry, and I thought it was spry chicken, and I thought of like this, I'm getting an anxiety or an anxiousness with this energy for this card for some reason. So why is that coming through, Spirit? We have Hermit as well. So we have Hermit. The shadow is withdraws from society. Okay, out of fear or negative judgment of others. I haven't seen these cards yet. So these flipped down, and so I'm not sure I don't know what the rest are, or this one was. So definitely the anxiety is the hermit energy. This is feeling like you need to close off from people because you don't want to deal with what the outside world entails. Like once you're done with work, deuces. Like you're out, you're done, and there's something about missing out on something energetically because you're not getting it when you're out. And this is understandably like a thing with empaths when you feel like you can't be outside too much because it just the energy is just it can be intense. It can feel like you need to balance yourself constantly, so you can't be out too long. So it's normal to go into hermit mode time to time, from time to time. But I feel like this is the energy of a consistent struggle with going out and refusing to help people in need because you kind of go within and you kind of cradle yourself like that. So there's something about that's why that spry energy came through. There's just a lot of energy in the collective, and sometimes with the masculine, there may be this like hyper fixation on having to tend to other people's needs as a masculine. Like for instance, I feel like with the masculine energy, it's usually relied upon for plans, for strategy, for executing a plan. It's for goal oriented things or for like active physical hard work. I feel like there's something here about like regardless of your gender, this is always going to be an energy, guys. I don't want anyone to get stuck on the on how this is coming through, but understand the soul aspect of this and like the deeper meaning behind all of this and the energy of it. So I just feel like this is about like the hyperfixation that we have on always doing, and it becoming producing a reclusive culture, a reclusive group of people in this world in this day and age. So it's normal. It's because of the balancing effect, like needing to take that time within in order to avoid, or in order to. Hey guys, so my phone died. I was like going off here and I was like really in it, and I didn't realize that my phone was dying. So I will have a little cut there for you guys. But what I was saying, I had to go back and like listen to it to remember what I was trying to get to. I was just trying to talk about how we sometimes are going in that masculine energy and focusing in on how we can get as much done because we tend to be more focused on numbers as a at least as a culture. I think at least for a lot of Western civilizations, at least that I know of, we tend to focus in on how we can get better numbers, how we can get more of something out to people rather than the quality. It's really about the quantity, and when it's quality, it's like we settle for certain things. If no one's suing us or no one's trying to like say, hey, this is hurting people. Like if no one says anything, like the quality does go down. I noticed that with companies and with especially large corporations and stuff like that. When it comes to quality, it's we they mess with it, they tweak it. But then when it comes to like quality, if like quantity, if they stop doing a certain thing, they lose a lot more money. So they're not as focused on the specific like customers, their their individual perceptions of something, if that makes sense. They're focusing on how many people. Okay, how many people are being affected? Okay, since it's over 60%, we're going to care. We're going to do something about it. Of course, these are numbers that are not specific to a company. And if you have any experience with like QCing something or like of looking into the nitty gritty of a company and how they're doing and how it matches up to other competitors. I don't have that experience. I just can see from like, at least from my perspective, how on a broad scale, we do tend to focus in on quantity over quality here. So that affects our mental health. That affects how we act and how much we actually spend time outside of work. If work is the majority of what we do out there in the open, like when we go home, like what do we do? Do we like curl up in a ball and go to sleep and like kind of just spend the rest of the time or rest of the day to ourselves to try to like reconnect with ourselves? If so, that is common, I feel like. So that's what they're trying to talk about with the masculine energy in the shadow. A lot of them do tend to recluse, and if they're not reclusing, it's reclusing inward and then acting and being like putting on a show for people a lot of the time. If they're not allowing themselves to heal, allowing themselves to delve into their inner world, a lot of the times they'll a lot of people in this shadow energy will go to extremes to get some form of fulfillment in some way, whether that be through false grounding, through drinking, smoking, something, certain things. Your intention matters so much, collective. You can tap into certain energies and frequencies and mushrooms and in certain psychedelic substances, but if your intention is to escape your reality rather than to delve into another, there is an issue with that. Down the road it will come up. I feel like the intentions, as I said, are important, but they're not everything. You could have the best of intentions and still contribute to your downfall in a major way. Like, you can continue to go down that road because you're saying your intentions are good, but like there's an importance in checking in with your body, checking in with yourself, and seeing the signs, and also seeing the omens as well. We also have in the shadow the goddess archetype. That is, it says exploitation of the female nature and form. So there's something here about the masculine tending to have this dedication and focus on exploiting the female form and nature to help ease their suffering or to ease their pain. So you could think of, like, what do you think of? Please feel free to put in the comments below when you think, what do you think of right away when you think of this tendency to exploit the nature of the female form or its energy. You tend to get very intense and expressive people that are kind of like, there's like there's this thing where I want to like say this and word this in the best possible way, and it can trip me up. So I'm trying to kind of push through that and just give you what I have raw and unfiltered. So the first thing I thought of was prostitution in some way. Everyone can have their opinion of it, right? But I'm just thinking of anything that's exploiting the female form in a way that's not allowing it to or not expressing it in a way where it isn't vampiric of someone else's energy for it to persist and to live and to thrive, and also of the energy of someone who is not aware of what feminine energy truly embodies, like the totality of it. And so it's a very shallow perspective and view of the feminine. So I feel like the goddess archetype comes through as a way to help the masculine in some way, and sometimes people can only take it in bite-sized pieces and in very shallow forms, so they settle for the goddess in the shadow instead of the goddess in the light, which is the feminine expressed through wisdom, nature, life force, and sensuality. We have four things there: wisdom, nature, life force, and sensuality. And what we're getting with the shadow is two. So we're getting exploitation of the female nature and form. So you're missing half of it. You're missing 50% of what women or feminine energies are, especially like physically. Like, if we think about any female, animal or human, whatever. I feel like that is important to note here. I'm just getting like, I don't know, distractions. If you're getting distractions, please feel free to come back, because I feel like this reading will be too long for some people, and that's okay. We have the pioneer, which is a shadow energy listed below, that says compulsive need to keep moving on. There's something about a compulsive need to keep moving on within the masculine energy that's being addressed here. And it feels like it's because you never truly got to know the goddess for the four things: for her wisdom, for her nature, for her life force, or for her sensuality. That's something that really is important, and it's coming through. Like, there are people out there that don't truly know what feminine energy is in its totality. So there's not this ability to really respect it or to dedicate anything meaningful to it, because they don't really know anything beyond exploitation of the female nature and form. Like, literally, I feel like I have to close my eyes to get all these words out. There's something important about realizing that if you have a compulsive need to move on from situations so quickly where you're not able to see like really what it is, you are never in it for the long haul. I feel like you should just be honest with yourself if that's the case. This is for people that are compulsively doing it. It's not someone who just did it one time. It's someone that does it all the time in every relationship or most relationships. They're just like moving on, moving on, moving on, never sticking to like let something take root in their life. And you may notice this in people that are compulsive and like tend to uproot very quickly and move on. It's one thing to like have like a time in your life where you're doing this, but it's another thing to live like to be like doing this consistently, because how can you really see what you or who like to see the fruits of your labor requires time and energy and dedication. When we think of Earth Mother, it says feel loved and comforted. I feel like if we were to go through apocalypses every other weekend, I don't think we would feel loved and comforted by Mother Earth. I feel like a part of feminine energy, which we're talking about masculine in the shadow, a part of that is to consider like growing and yielding fruit. That's a big part of your journey too. It's not just uprooting every second. There are certain things you need to uproot, and those are usually things and patterns that are karmic or patterns that are generational that you're healing. But usually, when it comes to taking root, something taking root, usually it requires like skill, and it requires like patience, compassion. Like I'm thinking of like just plants in general, and I feel like there's something so important about us seeing the sun rise and the sun set, of seeing that we have a certain number of days in the week. There's certain expectations that we've placed upon our reality. And if you're constantly being the pioneer in the shadow with your masculine energy, like you're constantly uprooting what you start to plan and execute, what's the point? I feel like you're just going to see like a very like minimal output from it. It's kind of like someone that starts a YouTube channel, and like for me, like this hits close to home. When you're in your energy, your masculine energy, right, and you're trying to start a channel, and you're like, I'm gonna do this and this, and then you just stop cold turkey and then just never come back. It's one thing to like take time to rest, but you should take that time to also kind of plan and to manifest and to like to consider like what you want to see. There's something here about like there being like a need to a tendency of moving on too quickly and never sitting and letting something like settle because of either fear of other people dismissing it, not seeing the increase in the output that you are hoping for, which I can resonate with a lot. I feel like I am on here now with the intention of just reaching people, and whether it's my last day or like whether I'm going to be here for a while, but just like enjoying the season that I'm in and like saying what I want to say. I feel like there's a need for the masculine in this shadow energy to open up to seeing something long term, to seeing something come to fruition, to seeing something grow. And how can you do that if you're always staying shallow or staying in a very like primitive form of something? I feel like I'm getting this message that I got before. So with a pick a card I did recently for Welcome Home Beloved, and I'm seeing 1111. I feel like this is meant to come through for you guys. I heard the word sativa, and it's 1155. There's something about that. 1 and 5 are significant. Sativa means domestication. When there's always like, when you're in an environment that's domesticated, you do tend to spend more time focusing on the higher levels of like Maslow's hierarchy, focusing on your spiritual growth, your expansion, your adeptness at like thinking critically and thinking more about more than just what you're going to eat for the day, more than where you're going to sleep. It's about like thinking about like the difficult questions or philosophical thoughts of like, where are we going? Why are we here? What is like what do we believe? What foundational structures are truly evident in the immaterial world? Like what is just real and what's imaginary, or what how can we trust what we see? Like those things don't just happen like in the wild. You have to have some domesticated, like you have to have some time away from the fear of being killed, or like in the sense of like constantly having to fight for survival, because it's just your focus isn't on that, on spiritual attainment, enlightenment, when you're trying to focus on your base needs and motives. We're cultivating that in the collective. And I feel like the masculine energy has been cutthroat for a long time. A lot of people are expressing the masculine in societies, at least as long as the earth has been around, in the like primitive form. And now the masculine energy, not now like today, I'm talking about like probably like the last 1,000 years, there's been like this energy of cultivation and domestication, a bit of recognizing like, hey, I can do more than just hunt, or I can do more than just like grab people out of burning buildings or do this and that. There's something about like there being like a longer time span, life expectancy growing for men over time, and then them also having the opportunity to explore options and to explore things in greater detail. So it's really important for us to recognize how far the masculine energy has come in the collective, not just in the male form, but in general. It's going through this like death and rebirth constantly, in a sense, or expression, and the opposite of that, going through bouts and phases of seeing the masculine in different forms. So I'm gonna have to hold here and come back in a bit for the rest. So I hope you guys will stick around, and I'll see you soon. Hey guys, so to continue, since my son is now awake, I feel like I need to close this naturally, and I'm going to finish up with the last two cards. And then I'm going to just get a love message for you guys for the shadow energy that we've been talking about and all the expressions of it. So far, we've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, and we're going to get into the seventh one, which is networker. So this is conveying information only for personal gain, spreads fear and falsehood. This sounds like the media, to be honest with you guys. If you guys are evolved, and I feel like a lot of you guys are, there's a lot of fear and falsehood that's spread constantly by the media, and it's regarding political affairs. It's regarding just economic struggles and things like that. Of course, these things happen and they're actually happening right now, but there's like a surge of information that we tend to push out in order to get a certain response, or to get a certain emotional response specifically from people. And so the masculine energy is getting the shadow attribute that we are looking at right now that needs to be addressed a bit more, is the tendency of spreading fear and falsehood and misinformation, but spreading it like rapidly. You see how this person's like throwing it everywhere that it can go. Like it's just like, they don't even care where it hits, right? And that's the tendency for us to sensationalize topics. And this is something I'm noticing more and more now from myself and from others, is the tendency to hop on trends, or to hop on certain popular topics, or to focus on what everyone else is saying, and not realizing how biased we can become when we hear so much information on one end, and how we sometimes can be contrarian people that are contrary, or like to go against the societal norms that they're living in. I feel like we either tend to take one or the other extreme. Either we're so against whatever people are trying to spread that we go for the complete opposite end of the pole, or we align with it so heavily that we forget that the other side is also important or valuable, or there's something to learn about the other end of that conversation, and to not close off and to become close-minded about the other party, or the other perspective, or the other experience. So there's something here about that tending to happen. And then look at what we have at the end, guys. We have the bully archetype for an aspect of the shadow masculine that needs to be addressed here today. Please keep in mind, these are not like limited to masculine or feminine, but these are shadow attributes within the masculine today that I'm talking about, that are coming through. So this can be used for this deck. The archetype cards can be used for any situation, but it's about focusing on the energies of what the masculine in the shadow represents, or what I'm meant to talk about as a reader and as a mystic and as a healer, about the masculine energy, and what is not being addressed as heavily in the collective, or being touched on at least. I'm here to open up our minds, or to open up a conversation and a conduit for the conversation. It's not to just teach you guys, or just to come from some perspective as if I'm higher than you. This is definitely like me having a conversation with you guys. And if you like that type of content, please continue to watch readings like this that I do. I do story times, and I do things like this where I just tap into what I'm seeing and hearing, and what I'm reflecting on within the collective. And you have a part to play in your world, right? To either take this information and to let it sit with you, and to think about it, or to address it in the moment as you're watching it, and to communicate if you'd like in some way, so that we can all come together and to either confirm how you see this in your life, or to talk about it more. I would love to have more in-depth conversations in the comments too. I love that. So don't feel afraid, or if you are, it's okay. You don't have to do it. But if you feel drawn to, please commit. I almost said commit, or comment on what you would like to say about all this. I feel like my words are like coming together for some reason to simplify it. Um, what's interesting is the last one says conceals deep fears behind verbal or physical abuse. So there's something about slurs, like I'm literally getting, like, with my voice doing that, I feel like slurs is significant. This could be racial slurs, this could be slurs of any kind that are derogatory. But then also I'm thinking of like when someone's drunk and they can't seem to kind of like conjure up like the frontal lobe and like to make those clear decisions. I feel like that there's like an energy of being blindsided by the importance of your frontal lobe, or the importance of your ability to make decisions, and to be very conscious of the decisions you're making, and not to act on rage or fear in a way where you're abusing and or taking advantage in the sense of you throwing something out there verbally that has a tendency to affect others that are very vulnerable to something, like trying to get someone angry, or trying to provoke someone in some way, like having that be your intention. So there's something here about deep fears within the shadow masculine that are expressed through verbal and physical abuse. This is speaking. I don't know why I keep getting this conversation, guys. You know how like there's some people out there that just call like all of any group like a word, and then it becomes their identity. Like they don't seem to be able to to consider the idea that the person is not just this one thing, that they're actually a lot of other things, but they have like a term, or they I, for instance, I'm getting the bitch word. Like I feel like people say that and throw it around for women, and it really irks me personally, just because it's such a like derogatory term, and we can use it and all that and change the definition of it, right? Words can change over time societally, but there's something about like that coming up for me, like mentally, like as I thought of like how we're getting like goddess energy, we're getting like the feminine, the divine feminine. And I feel like people really don't recognize the power of their words. With the bully archetype, recognize the power of how you consider and call other people. That affects how you perceive them, even subconsciously. So like with people calling women just bitch, or just calling someone the F word, like if they are LGBT, or it's just certain words just really get me, because it feels like it closes the person's mindset to like the entirety of that person, and kind of puts them into this small little hole, like this small little like perception in their mind of who they are. And it's like it just is so limiting. So self-limiting beliefs are coming through as well. That's really important about the masculine and the shadow. It's like believing that you're only as good as what people say you are, and not that you can do more, that you have to do something for everyone else but yourself, that you have to focus in on others more than yourself, that you have to work tirelessly to prove someone, to prove that you're good enough for something. And I'm seeing 1221 because it's 12 o'clock in the morning. And so I'm thinking of like a mirror, like there's like this thing about mirroring people. And I feel like this goes way, 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 way deeper. And I would love to have more conversations about this in the comments below. So if you like this video, if you like just having the start to the conversation for the next part of this and phase of this reading, please feel free to give this a like, a share, and to comment on what you felt. Anything constructive, always just constructive criticism or feedback is very much appreciated. Of course, if you have questions about specific things within the masculine energy, that will help direct me a little bit more, but I like to kind of fine tune it as I go. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful day. I hope this made sense, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Take care. Bye.